We turn now to a major issue shaping this year's election, the mass shootings that have become all too common in Florida.
People tend to think that can't happen to me. And unfortunately, we're seeing it. It's happening to everyone. And they don't care, who you are, where you come from. They want to make this a partisan issue. We're Republicans. Our son was a Republican. That didn't stop the bullet.
That was Maria Wright, whose son Jerry was killed in the Pulse nightclub massacre in 2016. But it is the Stoneman Douglas shooting in Parkland that may have the longest lasting impact. And that is due in part to an angry and motivated group of students who know how to use social media to hold the public's attention. Whether it's the March for Our Lives in Washington or the CNN town hall in Broward County, all of these things suggest that this year the issue of guns may be second only to health care in driving voters to the polls across the country. And South Florida is ground zero.
We have to send a message to our elected officials, and I think this year we're going to do it.
Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg spent last weekend in South Florida with the parents of Parkland victims, pressing the issue of gun reform.
We're going to knock on doors, we're going to make phone calls, we're going to drive people to the polls, and we're going to explain to them which candidates want to save our children's lives and which candidates do not want to save our children's lives. And we're not going to forget the people we lost. And we don't forget the politicians who refused for years to take basic steps to protect them.
Joining him at the event were Manuel Oliver, whose son Joaquin was killed in Parkland, and Fred Guttenberg, who lost his daughter Jamie in the shooting.
My great regret in life now, I was on the sidelines until this became my story. I won't be on the sidelines again. We fight.
We are seeing the issue of guns playing a role in nearly every election on the ballot this year. In September, Lori Alhadeff, a political novice whose daughter was killed at Stoneman Douglas, was elected to the Broward School Board.
The death of Alyssa empowered me to want change to happen, to step up to the plate, to have a seat at the table, to have a vote, and to be the voice of change.
In the governor's race, Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum touts his opposition to the NRA, invoking the name of its well-known lobbyist to rile up voters.
And because the gun lobby runs roughshod over Tallahassee, because of figures like Marion Hammer and her colleagues in tow, they have been able to design extreme laws that have given cover to some of the most dangerous people in our society.
Gillum made those comments while picking up the endorsement of Moms Demand Action, a group aligned and financed by Bloomberg's Everytown for Gun Safety organization.
Moms Demand Action volunteers have been tirelessly working across the state and the country to convince our politicians that community safety is more important than NRA money.
In the Senate race, Bill Nelson has attacked his opponent Rick Scott by frequently mentioning Scott's A+ rating by the NRA. Scott counters by talking about his support for the Second Amendment, but quickly points to the Stoneman Douglas bill he helped pass in Tallahassee, creating red flag laws and raising the age to purchase a firearm from 18 to 21. In South Florida congressional districts, the gun issue is having an impact. Donna Shalala, running in Congressional District 27, embraced the March for Our Lives movement and offered this advice to the young people.
Wall Street, they're the investors in our gun companies. They can make the gun companies act responsibly.
And Debbie Mucarsel-Powell in District 26 started her campaign sharing the very personal story of how her father was shot and killed when she was a child.
So in Congress, I promise you, I won't rest until there's real change that keeps our families, our neighborhoods, and our schools safe.
Their Republican opponents are adapting to the shifting landscape. Congressman Carlos Curbelo, fighting to survive in a district that overwhelmingly supported Hillary Clinton in 2016, has moderated his views. When he first ran, he courted the support of the NRA, and in return, according to the Center for Responsive Politics, the NRA over the years spent $74,500 to help Curbelo get elected. But in the past 2 years, he sponsored a measure to ban bump stocks, expressed support for raising the age to buy a gun from 18 to 21, and for closing the gun show loophole. On Tuesday, he was rewarded by getting the endorsement of Bloomberg's Everytown for Gun Safety. He was the only Republican in the state of Florida to get that distinction. The NRA has now labeled Curbelo a political opportunist and a flip-flopper. On a recent Saturday, Next Gen America, the group funded by billionaire Tom Steyer, went door-to-door in Curbelo's district, trying to convince young people to vote for Gillum and Murkosal Powell. 18-year-old Destiny Pearson drove down from Coral Springs to volunteer in South Dade. She said it was the Stoneman Douglas shooting that motivated her to get involved.
I just felt like in that moment I was so frustrated. We were so frustrated, and we were like, we have to do something.
Nowhere, though, could the battle over guns have a greater impact than in Congressional District 25, the seat currently held by Republican Mario Diaz-Balart. He is a staunch supporter of the NRA, voting with the NRA position 93% of the time, earning himself an A-plus rating. The Washington Post noted Mario Diaz-Balart took more money from the NRA over the past 20 years than any other member of the House from Florida. And in the aftermath of the Stoneman Douglas shooting, Diaz-Balart took a $1,000 check from the NRA.
He took this almost to show, I'm with the NRA. And that's why I think it was, to me, a sign of disrespect to the parents from Parkland who had just lost their children.
And what about us?
And all the other ones that have been affected by gun violence.
Maria and Fred Wright's son, Jerry, was one of the 49 people killed in the Pulse nightclub shooting in 2016.
The truth is, he could get money from the NRA in many other ways without making that public, open statement of, I'm taking money from the NRA, which was basically saying, I'm with them.
Diaz-Balart declined a request for an interview. In a written statement, he said, "Contributions to my campaign do not influence my position on any issue." After their son's death, they traveled to Washington, hoping to meet with members of Congress, including Mario Diaz-Balart.
When our son was killed, we tried to get an appointment to see him. We asked many times to try and see him. The other Republican congressmen in our county, Miami-Dade, they met with us, they talked to us. Even Senator Marco Rubio met with us. Representative Diaz-Balart did not, refused to. Finally, we insisted so much we saw one of his aides, but face-to-face with him, that was impossible to get.
In a statement, Diaz-Balart's campaign wrote, "Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart never refused to meet with Fred and Maria Wright. Congressman Diaz-Balart would have gladly met with them, but they had requested to meet on a specific date when the congressman had previously scheduled meetings in Collier County. But the Wrights maintain they made numerous requests to meet with Diaz-Balart."
He refused to talk, he refused to see us, and it made me angry.
But it's not just the fact he didn't see us. The fact is, look at his voting record. He consistently has voted in favor of what the NRA wants, not what will improve the safety of our community.
The Wrights, who are lifelong Republicans, are now working to help Diaz-Balart's opponent, Democrat Mary Barzee Flores.
He's so beholden to this gun lobby that he would reject all sense of humanity.
Diaz-Balart has not had a competitive race in 10 years, and most analysts say he is not likely to lose this race either. Despite the odds, or maybe because of them, gun reform groups around the country have moved into this race to help Barzee Flores, believing that if they can knock off one of the NRA's biggest supporters, it would send a message to politicians across the country. A poll conducted by the Giffords Campaign Against Gun Violence said 60% of voters in Diaz-Balart's district rated gun safety as a very important issue to them. And in perhaps the most telling question, which are you worried about more, Congress doing nothing to address gun violence or Congress going too far in restricting access to guns, 58% said they were more worried about Congress doing nothing. Only 35% said they worried Congress would go too far.
Following the Parkland tragedy, I've met with families of the victims. The pain that they're enduring is heart-wrenching.
Diaz-Balart recently posted a video saying how he is now working on gun reform.
I secured $1.2 billion in the House of Representatives to help protect our children. You see, kids need to be safe, especially when they're learning in school.
And in that ad, he has the audacity to suggest that he is in favor of a ban on bump stocks. Hasn't signed on to Curbelo's bill yet.
But there is no escaping the emotion evoked by the Wrights and the parents from Parkland, that have brought energy into the Barzi-Flores race. In a commercial endorsing Barzi-Flores, Fred Guttenberg cited Diaz-Balart's decision to take the NRA's money after Guttenberg's daughter was killed.
I want to tell you that you're not worthy of service. I want to tell you that you need to be fired.
In response, Diaz-Balart issued a statement saying, "Mr. Guttenberg has endured a great amount of pain, and my heart goes out to him and his family with the utmost respect." And what message is Maria Wright hoping to send?
It's time to have a serious conversation of what we are going to do as a nation about stopping this gun violence that's killing our kids. And that's, I think, what would be the big message. It's time for every lawmaker to realize that this is not a partisan issue, this is a national public safety issue, and our children are getting killed.